Hi, my name's Sean. I started pointing at Chris before I finished. This Sean, me, Sean here. That Chris Ford, a.k.a. Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. We are Avatar, The Last Podcasters. Just like we've always been. Not the Great Divide, much to my dismay. Today we're talking about Legend of Korra, Book 3, Change, Chapter 2, and it's called Rebirth. So, Chris, first of all, how are you doing in the past 5 minutes since we talked last time?
I'm doing good. I recently rewatched the Zaheer fight and put a smile on my face because I love the fight at the end of last episode.
He's literally squeezing in last-minute episode watching between our recordings. No, I'm just kidding. Chris, I don't even think you have to rewatch these. I think you know them by heart. I think you just it's an excuse to rewatch them. We are going to do just a little bit backwards. Last episode, we alluded to having some discussion about Zaheer. I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this episode first because it's very revealing to Zaheer's abilities, both as a bender and as a strategist, a leader, maybe. And so I think we're going to talk about the episode first, and then we will jump into a quick discussion about some feelings that we have about Zaheer, and then what was said in the commentary of these first two episodes. So that being said, Chris, unless you have any news that's popped up on the Twitter in the past 10 minutes. News checked. We need like a news bulletin sound like. This just in.
So far, no, just a random picture of.
We're probably up to episode 6 of Braving the Elements now, and we. Not just Blow and Smoke because it's Avatar stuff, but it's been genuinely enjoyable thus far through 4 episodes. So we hope that if you like Avatar content, the Avatar universe, and you listen to any podcast, we genuinely hope that you'll go listen to that and enjoy it as much as we're enjoying it so far. I love them both. Really no news. I love them both, but listening to, no disrespect to Dante Bosco, but listening to Janet Varney's voice in podcast form is just a treat.
Yeah, she's great. And it's funny 'cause I can easily separate her Korra voice from her Janet Varney voice.
Her Varney voice is notably higher
and far more positive and cheery and like it'll be interesting because she can voice like Ty Lee really well. I think
when I think of Janet Varney's podcast voice, it's more of like a teacher or something like that. The way that she carries herself. Or she's leading a conference, but she's like good at doing it. She's not just like the middleman guy at the office. Like she's somebody good at leading a group speak.
She would probably be a great teacher.
I think so. I'd learn from Janet Varney. Why not? So, hey, that being said,
I wonder what type of teacher would she be?
Well, probably obviously she would be a waterbending teacher, Chris. God, use your brain.
Probably English or art teacher. Definitely not math.
Martial arts.
She'd be like a creative writing teacher.
Yeah, I could see that.
I remember I made my creative writing teacher cry with one of my writings.
Oh.
It was a really good college essay, sort of. Anyway, I was talking about my dad and and how there was just a moment that I'm proud of this writing because in a way it was a sad moment. I was talking about my dad in this moment with my grandmother and how she was on her deathbed, and this is his mother-in-law. Anyway, I wrote how like the tear was going down his cheek and down and everything and dropped to the floor. And then like the thing is, I was sitting there and she was reading it and she was like crying. I was with like my friends sitting there getting kind of graded and like me not trying to be like very emotional around my friends and stuff. Like we're just like laughing and she was like, this is good. Yeah. But she was great. I always think about that teacher, Dr. Simcoe.
And that was
great
at Pitt?
Teacher. Yeah.
Pitt
yeah.
State.
No.
Sorry,
not
East Coasters. Pitt. Oh, not in high school. Okay.
At Booker T.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I can see Janet Varney being that type of English creative writing teacher.
I think she's just a self-help seminar person. That's what I've said. She's just Tony Robbins, but fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And so not Tony Robbins. But let's go ahead and get into this episode and review this sucker and then talk about some, what were we talking about again? Oh, Zaheer. We'll do that at the end. Let's get in the episode first. Chris, you want to take us through?
All right, so episode starts off with Asami doing the greatest display of love. Is that you hear your friend just wants to go reestablish air nomad, and so you bring along this big old airship. It's all fancy and stuff. This is like the best airship in the world.
Money can't buy you love, kids, but sometimes it makes life easier.
But it's funny, Mike and Bryan were talking about the airship, and they're like in the writer's room, because Bryan handles the art, like he's very focused on the art of the show, and then Michael's focused so much on the writing, like he heads the writer's room, and Bryan's like I would go into the writer's room and hear them really kind of arguing or just debating on how they're going to fit all these airbenders, how they're going to move them around, and how they're going to fit them like on a ship. And then he was like, so then we designed the ship, and we designed it really nicely, designed all the interiors of it and everything, and then we only ended up using it really for like a couple of episodes. But I always like those little bits of random info.
There's nothing against Asami like having this kind of extra airship hang around for whatever. She can be an eccentric millionaire or whatever the Avatar equivalent is.
That's true. Yeah. So they gather up. Mako's still kind of weird and stuff.
Super weird. Yeah, super weird.
Yeah, he's very super weird. And he gives Korra like a map of all these airbender sightings they've gotten. And then he's like, all right, Avatar, whatever, later. And then Bolin's like, you should come with us. Like, and then Bolin goes through this like, Mako, we're going to Ba Sing Se where Dad grew up. Yeah, like, what if we see our lost grandma? Like, and then he goes through this whole spiel.
Where's my Mako?
Yeah.
It's adorable.
He's like, I feel like I'm drifting away. And then Bolin's like, well, then drift back, buddy.
Bolin is one of those people where if you tell them that you have anxiety, that he would just be like, well, don't be anxious. And you'd be like, God damn it, Bolin.
No. Bolin, you don't get it. That's not how
he's that guy, works. Yeah. Like his heart's in the right place, but
I was about to say something, but then I thought with John Mulaney's joke was like, sometimes I get nervous on airplanes.
And you're like, I'm gonna go to the doctor, and Bolin's just like, don't be nervous.
Yeah. But
thanks,
sometimes
Bolin.
The thing about, I don't get anxiety that much, but I like to call it anxious about things, but sometimes I get anxious about something, and I'm like, what the heck am I anxious about? Like, you just have that feeling of anxiousness, and when you don't have any
with that feeling on the forefront of my brain every minute of every day.
Like you don't even know what you're, and then I gotta think to myself, oh yeah, I'm anxious about this, and then it's in my head for a minute. But then the thing is, I'm a very balanced person. Like, I don't know, I just work through it in my head. Like worrying about things and being anxious about things in my head is like it's illogical. So just don't do it. Don't worry about it. I don't tell other people that, but that's how. Like, it's not going to help.
This is good. Hashtag real talk here. We're not therapists, and we're not going to pretend to be. But this is important to me, and it's something I think about a lot. Something I don't want to say struggle with, because I don't want to belittle. I don't want to belittle an ailment that other people actually have to a serious degree. But for me, and it just flares up at random. Like, the smallest thing will set it off, or nothing at all will set it off, and it'll be like a day or 2 days. But I will say that I have found that when I am like eating a little healthier and exercising a little healthier and like sleeping at least maybe not more hours, but like a good sleeping schedule, like good those other kinds of habits, I feel like if I really tracked, I would find a direct correlation between those things happening less on those days. So taking care of yourself, doing positive things, having creative outlets, those sort of things, I think they all at least help me mitigate some of mine. But again, that's not to pretend that I suffer in the same way or belittle something that other people have to a serious degree. Not my intention.
Oh yeah, other people have it.
But
like,
but
really.
take care of yourself if you can, or as well as you can, and I do believe it helps to some degree.
Oh yeah,
Hashtag real talk.
I think it's been proven that like working out helps, just releases certain endorphins and things like that.
And those things all tie together. So I mean, I sleep better when I eat better, and when I work out better, when I exercise my creative outlets, or
yeah. For me,
it's a positive cycle. Yeah.
Like I don't know, I don't know. I feel like I don't know why I don't worry about a lot of stuff sometimes. Like I concern over things, but I think it's just in my personality, just the way I don't know I'm built. And then again, not to belittle anyone who worries about stuff all the time, because trust me, I live with people. Like that, my wife is opposite of me. She used to be a lot worse than is now, and yeah, it's something to always work through and keep your. I don't know.
If I had the Jim Carrey quote on me, I would totally say it. Instead, I'll just butcher it. But there's a really good Jim Carrey quote that's usually put in like meme form or picture on the internet. Like,
yeah.
if you're not eating healthy, exercising, all those other positive things I just said, then you're not even giving yourself a chance. So it's not that it's the cure, but it's like like the bare minimum for help to even be possible. So take care of yourself.
You're better equipped if you take care of yourself.
And the fact that it comes from Jim Carrey is also kind of funny for some reason. He does. I don't know. He seems like he's a really stand-up dude off the set.
Yeah, haven't heard anything bad about it. I feel like
everybody seems like they enjoy working with him and then being with him off the set also.
I feel like, the good thing I feel like about the Me Too movement, which one thing is just a good thing that people are being held accountable. So after I feel like everything, like if any celebrity made it past that, you're like, oh, well, they must have. And not to say that things are 100% they're in clearance and stuff, but if I haven't heard anything bad about this person yet, and I've only heard good things about them, like they must. There's a good chance that they're good people.
Like if you didn't hear accusations in that window, in that like peak window of time, you're like,
yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Cross your fingers, Maybe they are who they say they are.
Yeah, but I like to think that. I like to think that about him, and I like to think that about Keanu Reeves. I don't know why. I like to think that about both those people.
Keanu Reeves is I've been told that if you see any picture of Keanu Reeves with a woman, he usually never how people.
He's like never touching them. Yeah.
Yeah, and even though like there's nothing inherently wrong with just like, oh, you're gonna take a picture of me, like, yeah, that's like. It's somewhat innocent, but also it could be skewed in some different ways. But Keanu Reeves, I've only seen this on the meme line.
Same landscape if it's in picture form.
Yeah.
But for the record, you cannot be a sexual predator and still be an asshole. We're not mutually excluding those two.
Very, very true. Very.
We're not letting them off the hook if they're bad people, we swear. But hey, that was some hashtag real talk on Avatar: The Last Podcasters. I like that. I don't remember where we were in the episode. We were talking about an airship, and then somehow it devolved into, or not devolved. It went up. It evolved into hashtag real talk, but I don't remember where we were.
All right, so we'll just talk about plot A. So in A plot, Korra and Tenzin are going around trying to gather up airbenders, and they are having a terrible time. At first, the first person Tenzin meets, he's like, oh, what a great honor it is to meet you. Like, and then he's like, you'll have. He's telling him like, oh, you'll have this and this and this as an airbender, and then like when you come with us, and the guy's like, what are you talking about? I'm not going with you. He's like, but you must. Like, you're an airbender now. Like, he's like, I can airbend. I'm no air man. I'm no monk.
Yeah, he says like, like he does the right thing. He's like, no, I get it, but you're like, I felt really bad for the farmer. I was kind of proud of the way the farmer said it at first. No offense, Tenzin.
Yeah. And the little girl's like, Daddy, is this man trying to take you? And then and the Korra's like, no, he's not. I mean, we do want to take him with us.
We're trying
but
to.
He's like he has a great responsibility. Um, and then that leaves them on a sour note. There's some really great commentary in here that they talk about how Tenzin. I feel like their commentary was reflecting on, and maybe I'm just, I feel like their commentary was talking about how like one person's beliefs can be completely different from another's, and yet it shapes them completely differently. Um, and I'm butchering the commentary on this, but it was fairly insightful. So go listen to that commentary. So then they go and they keep meeting with people and stuff, and then like Tenzin's like saying all the great things of being airbender is like you'll have your own bison, you'll get these free clothes, like you get to shave your head. Yeah, and then no one's going for it.
Who doesn't want a bison, or who doesn't want their best friend to be a bison?
Yeah, exactly.
That was my.
And that's when
Boomy.
That's when Boomy says like. That's when Boomy is like, "Don't worry, Tenzin. I want to be in your air. I want to be in your air nation." like I know Boomy. I feel like Boomy wants Tenzin to be really happy for him. The thing is, Tenzin hasn't been overly happy for him.
It's almost like Tenzin jumped the shark a little bit. Like, hey, you got your brother here who's like a willing participant, but you already got your mind on this bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not Tenzin's finest hour.
No, it's not at all. This isn't his finest. Again, I love how Tenzin is growing throughout these seasons. He's being challenged in a couple of different ways. I feel like he probably has probably the second best, maybe third best character arc in the series. Not in the whole.
In the Legend of Korra.
In the Legend of Korra. No, I don't know if I'll put him on. Now, the top three in the whole series will probably go Zuko, Korra, Iroh, Sokka, Katara, Azula.
You just tackled a real deep subject in a matter of like off your head of 5 seconds. Okay, let's talk about this really big thing. Here's how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fairly accurate, I guess. Maybe we should rank them sometime. Anyway, another idea from who has the ranking the character arcs of the characters. Anyway, and then Korra's like, all right, we done it your way, let's do it my way. And then this part was so hilarious to me. She goes and meets with his mom, and then she's like, just this voice actress does a great job of being that mother who's just trying to get rid of her kid for once. And she's like, he's I'm really excited about this. It was a great opportunity. Like,
life out.
Yeah, he's still figuring his life out. And then Korra's like, how old is he? And then she says, the way Jennifer delivers the line is like, how old is the little scamp? And then she says like, he's 22 or so. Wait, did she say 26? She might say 26.
22.
22? Okay.
I think she said 22.
And then of course like, well, I think we have a great opportunity. And then the mom was like, yes. And then like she's like, Ryu, come out here. He's like, yeah, what is it? and his voice, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. I want to say John. Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite.
So I don't like Napoleon Dynamite, but I do like the movie Benchwarmers. So, but I can't think of his name in there. Clark? Is it Clark?
I don't know.
And then but anyway, it's John Heater, and it's not like some other characters. You're like, hey, that voice actor sounds vaguely like. Oh, you're like, oh, that's just Napoleon Dynamite. That's all that guy is.
But his interaction with Korra is just so good because Korra's like, listen, you're an airbender now. You have responsibilities. He's like, no, I don't. And then she's like, what? She's like, I didn't. He's like, I didn't choose to be an airbender. And she's like, well, I didn't choose to be the Avatar, but I am, and I have to do my responsibilities. Like, no, you don't. She's like, yes, I do, or the world will be in great peril. She's like, do you want no one wants the world to be in great peril. He's like, maybe I do. No, you don't. You don't. He's like, I don't care. It's like, who cares? And she's like, everyone cares. And it's just a great interaction. I just love that.
So also, much. He only has one shoe on when he comes upstairs, and I kind of admire that.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious.
I admire just the laziness of it. Yeah,
little details. But
just listening to that kid pisses me off because he's like, there's people out there that like that's how they act and behave, and
yeah. But it's funny because he comes back in later seasons with dyed hair, and he's like an actual airbender showing people around and stuff. And his mom is like, "That's my boy right there." And then, like, she's
but nobody's gonna talk about his character arc being the biggest.
You know what?
Pretty bad oversight there, Chris.
That's true. He went from. The thing is, I feel like he does it not because like for any greater good. Just like, well, I might as well do this.
Well, that's kind of the first step, is like that logical, and then later you get to sort of the embracement of it. Like you go from compliance to commitment in there somewhere. And,
one thing, how did he even get? So later on in book 4, how did he get this job of showing people around, being a tour guide for the spirit vines? Like, how does that even an air nomad job? Like the rest of the air nomads are like, man, we are split. Like we're really thinned out. Like we're trying to keep peace in the air, in the Earth kingdom.
I like to think of that as like the means of income to support the wherever they live. I mean,
I don't think they really need. I don't think they have income. Really, they're the air acolytes kind of take care of them. I'm sure they do like all the farming. They probably just have like small little gardens and farms and stuff. They're vegetarians.
That was one of Tenzin's pitches, by the way. You get to be a vegetarian.
Yeah, that's a. Oh gosh, I just want to unmute this right now so I can listen to. I got the episode playing, and it's Korra's meeting. Right, whatever his name is.
I don't know.
Napoleon Dynamite
Ryu, something like that. Yeah. Some Street Fighter character.
Korra.
I don't care.
She like grabs him, air kicks this chair over, and then slams him up against the chair. And then by the end of it, Mako and Bolin has to pull Korra off of him.
I'm just so glad it's John Heder.
Yeah. And they were saying like they didn't have to like ask. It's like a lot of times when we're asking for voice actors, like, we gotta go ask and like, oh, maybe they'll do it. Like we gotta just offer the job to them. And he was saying like, we just got the audition for John Heder. Like he just applied and we had the audition tape. And we're like, yeah, let's go with John Heder.
Yeah, if we want that guy to be in our show, why not? That guy who's like at the pinnacle of popularity right now. Yeah, let's do him. Because when did Napoleon Dynamite come out? Like 2006?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But it would have been, I think, passes.
Probably.
It would have been past like Blades of Glory.
Which, by the way, in my opinion, is his most underrated work.
I like Blades of Glory. I've only seen it kind of once, but that was.
Of the stupid humor Will Ferrell movies, it's in my top 2.
No.
Of the stupid humor Will Ferrell movies.
I mean, aren't they all kind of stupid humor?
Well, if Will Ferrell's in it, yeah, kind of, yeah.
I mean, there's only a select few Will Ferrell movies I feel like isn't stupid humor, like Stranger Than Fiction. I wouldn't consider.
Nobody cares about. Let's be honest.
I liked Stranger Than Fiction.
Really? I mean,
I saw it.
I just care 0% about that type of movie.
The concept, I think, is cool.
Bewitched, does that count?
I think that's
not a stupid humor. That's just a bad movie.
No, yeah, I think that would count. I didn't like that movie.
There's a cutaway in Family Guy that, like, they do the line where she's like, "I'm a witch," and he's like, "I'm a Clippers fan," and then Stewie like boards the plane and flies all the way to LA and goes to his house, like sets up a ladder, crawls up the ladder, rings the doorbell. And then Will Ferrell answers, and he beats him over the head. And it's like, that's not funny. It's like it's not 5 minutes. It's like a minute-long cutaway just for him to hit Will Ferrell in the head after watching that clip. Anyway.
So they're having trouble recruiting airbenders. So then Bolena's like, let me do it. He's like, we guys are missing the pizzazz. And Cortez was like, they just look at each other like, all right, sure, whatever. And then And then they put on like a little circus show, and then and then Korra is like airbending Mako, and then uh and then uh and then they get Kai to join, and then they're like, hey, just to let you know, like we're taking you to like a temple for you to grow up and be like a monk. He's like, yeah, sure, let's do that.
Like sooner the better, why not?
Yeah, right, let's leave right now. And then these people come to round him up. Well, he first tells them his fake sob story, and then Bolin falls for it. Hook, line, and sinker's like, just call me Bolin. I'll be your big brother, Bolin. And then the people come to round him up, and they think they're bandits, and Korra kicks the crap out of them, but they're clearly not bandits. Like they all have uniforms.
Very nicely dressed uniforms in a non-threatening way.
Yeah.
For the record, I think John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite 2004, Benchwarmers 06, Blades of Glory 07, Surf's Up 07, so 04 to 06. So he is a few years past his
yeah, probably like 4 or 5 past that.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's nothing wrong with applying for voice actor positions. Like a lot of actors like doing voice acting because it's not as much work, or it's not as time consuming, I would say, as doing acting. Make a good little extra change.
Thanks for doing that, John Heater. I loved you in Surf's Up. I forgot that was you, the chicken from Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, another solid-ish flick. Not solid. It's a fine flick. But anyway, Kai is a jerk, and I'm just gonna say this. It's not because it's not because I see parallels in them. I just view them with the same amount of disdain. But Kai is the new Jet. There's no parallels in like character traits that I care about. I just hate him.
There's a new character trait.
Yep. Maybe it's because one member of Team Avatar really likes him, and the rest hate them, and the rest of them are right. Maybe that's the parallel.
Janora's crush is
bit.
very similar to Katara's immediate crush.
Yeah.
But I think he really comes around, especially
actually, so that throws my theory out the window.
And Korra, likes him. It's only Mako. And Tenzin, because Tenzin is like has that father warning going, like, don't trust this kid.
So now throw my theory out the window. I just know that I hate him.
Yeah.
How this kid that lives on a street gonna recreate airbender moves when I don't know.
Oh, I mean they're pretty basic.
I suppose.
Yeah. So that is pretty much the A plot, I believe. Not much else going on in the A plot.
They're both A plots in this one. Let's be honest. Like
I think so. They're both.
There's no B plot. It's just A and A.
Yeah, I think that's valid. So this one is all about the Red Lotus and Zaheer. First, he gets out Gazan. He has the boat, and he just throws some rocks. One thing, it's a great shot. A lot of great prison shots in this episode. Like I feel like prison shots, ranging all the way back to like Hannibal Lecter and stuff like that, where things are kind of in the cell with the prisoner and looking into it's in the shadows and it's gloomy and it's not well lit and stuff. It's really cool. We had that with Zaheer, and we had that with Gazan here. Him just like working out, got those cool tattoos and stuff. He jumps in there, airbends his way around there, throws just 3 rocks into there, which
he could have just airbended in from a distance and saved some trouble, but that's fine.
I mean, other earthbenders might block him, right?
I suppose.
Yeah.
They would like sense it seismic sense, but just like a little tingle, like.
Yeah, and I really love how this prison, like they've tailored these prisons specifically for these people. Like, and this one is out on a wooden freaking pier or whatever it is in the middle of the ocean, and that is a really cool kind of prison. And then the guy takes 3 rocks and then lava bends them, turns them into like a little disc thing, and he takes them. He breaks out, and they're both just taking out all the guards. Just really great, cool scene. I just love how Kazan breaks out first. Like he does this cool backflip sort of dealy, which I don't know, just really great animation, really great fighting.
I even like just when he cuts he cuts like a triangle into the side of his
Yeah.
prison, but it's like a really weird offset triangle, and there's this little thing that like when he kicks it out from the other side and it's oriented the proper way and everything. I don't know, just real good detail.
Yeah. So he breaks out him, and then and he's just like, "Where'd you get the new moves?" He's like, and Zaheer is
and then
like,
in way too serious and pretentious of a voice, he says,
he says, what is it? Oh, he says, I have harmonic convergence to things. But so this is more
I took
to
it as a sign.
I think that's freaking awesome, Sean. That's
I like
cool.
the dialogue. I just
oh, okay.
Well, I don't know.
I took it as a sign that our cause is a righteous one. Like, to me, that's like, it's such a cool. You already know this villain's going to be cool because the best villains think they're right.
That's but he's so self gratifying or something. He's very, I don't know. He's very into his own cause, I guess.
Yeah.
Very, what's the word? Like, I don't know. The other ones aren't nearly as serious as him. Like, they're more sort of job oriented, and he
job oriented.
I don't know how to say it. He's taking himself too seriously.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll say it's just an opinion. I'm not going to die on this hill, and it's an opinion. It doesn't mean anything. I don't love the voice acting work. It feels a little too stiff for me. The other ones all feel more natural and organic. The other three, this feels very stiff, and also much too like well crafted for a guy that's just spent 15 years in a crate with himself, and not a crate. He was in a different prison. Like, there's no way he's having lots and lots of good conversations with those guards. And he's not. I don't know. Does he get to go to the spirit world when he meditates in his cell? He's not been there yet, has he?
I mean, I'm sure he's been there plenty of times.
You think so? I'd be interested to see if he has or not. Like canonically or whatever. I'd be interested to hear Bryan and Mike's take. Tweet at them. Let's see if they answer us.
Well, they're not on Twitter for good reason.
let's get a question into the Braving the Elements podcast in like 4 years. When they get there.
Also, we should start stealing some of their segments. They have really good segments.
They do. I love their segments. Okay,
I need to write them down.
I got part of my Zaheer commentary out of the way.
This part. So then Zaheer and Ghazan goes and breaks out Minghua out of her prison. Her prison is in like a freaking volcano, which again, just the way they're tailoring these prisons for each person, and they're the only prisoners in these prisons, so you already know as a viewer that these people are some of the most dangerous people in the world, and all you see is her kind of in a prison, and then he just throws water in there, and then you see the water go to her where her arms would be at. You're like, oh, this girl doesn't have arms, which makes her even more of a BA. Like, she uses those arms in such a violent, monstrous way. Like, it's like the cool thing about these benders are that they're not traditional benders. They don't bend like traditional benders. It was a really great. Just the Red Lotus is a really great dichotomy, I guess, to how we usually think of the nature of these benders.
And I do appreciate that their styles are all like transcendent is the right word or the right theme for them across the board.
Yeah. So then they break her out, and then we kind of have this tell in kind of epilogue sort of deal. We get to see Zuko back, and that was freaking huge. Like, he's talking to some guard, and Zuko at first is like, "How could you let them escape?" And they're like, "It was Zaheer. It was an airbender." And right then, Zuko's like, "Zaheer's an airbender?"
Shit.
And even Zuko says, like, one of these can defeat any bender in the world. Put them together, they can overthrow governments. And so now you already have a good sense of this, of just what the threat really is. And that's just how. And then Zuko comes out. Like, where are you going? So I'm going to.
I tried to.
Oh yeah, they didn't get to that one yet.
And I think you're getting there. I'm jumping the gun too early.
Oh, okay. And then Zuko goes out, and you see that freaking dragon, which is really cool to see. Like, holy crap, Zuko's back! He's old, and he has a dragon. It's just really awesome.
I was more stoked about the dragon than anything, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dragons 100%. Are back.
Yeah.
And then in the commentary, they're talking about the dragon. They're like, "Where'd the dragon come from?" And then they're like, "Oh, the idea is that some descendant from Rand and Shaw." And I think it's Michael's like, "Where are my dragons?" Like he's quoting Daenerys from Game of Thrones. But good stuff. And then Zuko, goes off into the sunset or into something, into whatever direction, flying away on a very BA style.
Is it not this episode when they rescue what's her name?
No, it's this episode.
Okay. Dang. I guess I put my ratings down when I watched it, so it should be okay. Getting them mixed together a little bit. We do get as far as hearing that the other person that they're about to rescue, whose name Pili, is Zaheer's lady friend.
Yep.
Get that little bit of exposition in there.
Meanwhile, who's voiced by Gray Delisle is voicer, and she says like, "Oh, I'm surprised you didn't rescue your girlfriend first." And he's like, "We're getting her nets."
And frankly, Gray Delisle does not get enough lines in this season as a whole, but
that is interesting. I mean, the character had the right amount of lines that
for the character. Yeah,
need.
You just
that's fine. I don't know what else.
Get more out of her,
I just don't know where else you would use her, because the only big thing she would be is like a big major villain. But that would almost be too redundant of Azula. Like she couldn't voice Kuvira, because that would just be because Kuvira is almost like not a copy of Azula, but it's like, all right, if you want to talk about who's the
Bolin and Mako's grandma, just have a think Gray can do grandma. I bet she can.
Her grandma's great. I mean, it's weird that I know how she sounds as a grandma.
So you listen to that a lot, or
no? She's been on Janet Varney's other podcast, the JV Club, and she's talking about her grandma, and she did her grandma impressions, and it's really a great impression. Her grandma's like Italian or something like that, something European. I mean, they're
one of those Europeans. They all sound alike.
That's not what I was about to say. Like, well, all white people come from Europe or something. But it's recent European. I mean, everybody comes from Africa. We're being
right.
We're going that far back. Yeah. But yeah, she does. She could voice a grandma.
She could have been.
If I was a recast,
grandma, and it would have been perfect.
It probably would have been great. If I was to recast her as like a main character,
it would be tough to have her distinct voice as any larger role. I get it.
She's a great voice actress, although anytime she does a performance, I hear her in it. Like, it's hard not to hear her.
In the same way that John Heater is always going to be John Heater and Gray Delisle.
I mean, she changes it up. Like, her Catwoman is a lot different from her Azula.
But there's just a distinct quality to it.
There's kind of a baseline, and everything just kind of branches from that baseline. But that you hear that baseline, Gray Delisle Griffin's voice.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and that's part of why I like her.
Yeah,
She's pervasive across Nickelodeon, with that baseline
actually, her
voice.
Vicky is different. I think,
and her Vicky is surprisingly dynamic.
Yeah.
I love the Chip Skylark episodes. Anything with Chip Skylark in it, I'm a fan. But yeah, so let's do our ratings first, and then let's complain about Zaheer or defend Zaheer.
I'm not complaining about Zaheer.
I'm going to. Let's do our ratings first, though.
I'm gonna go with 8.5 on the audiovisual. The breakout scenes were all great. That's where most of it really comes from. Just the choreography with Gazan. I don't know how the heck they did the reference videos for that. That seems. I mean, I guess how they, so there's always an element that they can't really completely copy. That they probably just send over the score cards or whatever it's called. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
And then tell them to go wild.
Yeah,
make this look cool.
Yeah, so the breakout scenes really, I think he does a good job in bumping the score up. Story also an 8.5, and what was a great story element here? Oh man, I was watching the other day. What was it? More to hear stuff is good. Just continues to increase that threat level. Yeah, so 8.5 on that. Then we get to memorable. There was a lot of memorable things here for me. Just the Napoleon. I'm sorry, I keep saying Napoleon Dynamite. John Heder stuff is
Napoleon Dynamite. We get it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's absolutely hilarious, and I love it. It's so good. And then more Red Lotus stuff is really memorable. Meeting that character for the first time, Ming-Hua, I think is really good. Oh, and it's the first time we see lava bending, which is really cool. FYI, Ming-Hua was born without arms. She didn't have arms and cut off at some point. She was born without arms.
I feel like maybe you told me that before, but it feels like the first time I'm learning. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, in an interview, in a Q&A, someone asked Bryan, like, how did Ming-Hua lose her arms? And he said, can you lose something you never had? And he was like, yeah, she was just born with no arms.
It would have been great if he just left it at that rhetorical response. Never really clarified.
So that's great. Another good representation of different ableisms.
I forget the sort of appropriate language, but people with different abilities, I suppose, like people first language.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm butchering that. I certainly don't mean to. I went with so for audiovisuals, I actually loved everything about it audiovisually. Nice. It was great. There's lots of great stuff on both plots. Saw a variety of settings, lots of dynamic music sounds. I loved it. Hardly any complaints, but really can't even think of anything to complain about. Story not so much. Got some complaints about Zaheer, which we'll touch on a few in a minute. And then I also don't. I know they kind of did it for comedy, but it didn't feel real that like they intentionally paired up like Tenzin and Korra's pitches with the people against whom those would have been least effective, and it just felt like it felt like it was a little overdone just for comedy, and I don't think that's how their approach would have worked. I love me some good comedy, but not in that fashion. I don't think that stuck out a little, and then there's some complaints about Zaheer. Memorable 8.5. It is very memorable. Lots of good stuff happening. Obviously for me it drags a little bit into the next episode that I get things mixed up, but that's also just because of the way I binged them. So yeah, great episode. 8.4. That leaves us
8.45.
Yeah, rounds up to a nice 8.5. Good score. Hey Chris, I'm gonna complain about Zaheer real quick, and then you can tell me your thoughts. Listen. If you sit, I don't care how secure with yourself you are. You sit in a cell for 15 years, you don't come out sane. You maybe come out super buff and stuff. You don't come out sane and really thoughtful and all that stuff. I refuse to believe any of that. Also, I'm going to say that no matter how much practice you think you have airbending before you can actually airbend, be like, be like me teaching you how to shoot a basketball without a basketball, and then you being instantly good at shooting a basketball the moment I actually hand you the basketball. That's not how it works. I refuse to believe something as complex as bending works. I don't think that he would know where those other prisons are. I don't even think the other members of the White Lotus guarding his prisons would know where those other prisons are. So I refuse to believe that he could access and get to those other prisons and free them so quickly and easily. I don't think he would have access to that information. And fourth, I hate the convenience that he was sort of prepared to be an airbender. I would have accepted just, a general martial artist, just a very, like, physically capable and very wise, skilled person or whatever. But I hate the convenience that he was prepared. You still could have had your great line of that he's an airbender and his three buddies are the other elements. He could have had that feeling of, oh, it's kind of a fate thing, don't you think? Like, that's great. But I hate the convenience that he's prepared to be an airbender. Like, it makes me wish he'd been an earthbender, and so he'd done all this work, and then he turns into an airbender, and he's like, shit, how do I do anything? No, I don't know why I don't like it. It's just too, like, it's too perfect. It lines up too well. It could have been just as engaging if he had just been a studied, well-versed human with great physical abilities in martial artistry. He's obviously great strategically, or like a great leader, great plan, powerfully philosophical, all that stuff. And then also I do think that, like, I don't love the voice actor work in there. I think it's maybe just a little bit too flat to be believable, I guess. Like, a little too... flat's not that makes it sound like he's not speaking dynamically, but too measured to be real. Like, people don't really talk like that. I don't know. And so he's a great villain. There's all these minor tweaks that I think could have been made to make him feel like a more real person who is a villain, and it wouldn't have impacted the story at all. It just would have made him feel better to me. Those are my complaints. I am, yeah. Go ahead. I'll just mute myself now so I can't even interrupt you.
I'll try to tackle some of this one by one.
I can rehash those things one at a time if I got to.
I think the voice, the measured voice, I think supports the character of it, because he's not some diabolical villain. Like, he's measured in his approach because that's the way he thinks. Like, he's very methodical and everything. I feel like when you get those methodical characters, you're not gonna get much range, I guess. You're gonna get.
But all the other characters still like represent personality traits while still sounding like real humans. Zuko and Ozai, they still sound like real people, even though they're like excessively, extreme one side or the other.
What else was there? Oh, so before he got airbending, he was a very, very great martial artist. Like, best.
That's fine. That's great, even.
Yeah. So he was like one of the best martial artists. Like, he was the leader of the Red Lotus. Like, imagine being the leader of being a non-bender, the leader of all these people who are bending masters of sub-bending and things like that. He must have been really, really great. If you look at some of his character designs, his ears are like puffed up because he's fought. So, I mean, you know how in the UFC, like, sometimes you deal with cauliflower ear. Like, that's why his ears are like that, because he's been fighting so life. And so in the commentary, Bryan takes the point of view for a while, for a minute there. It's like, I know some fans are like, hey, how did Zaheer already be a great airbender? And Bryan said, like I just said, he was already a great martial artist. And when Bryan said, when you give a great martial artist, if you give them a broom, they will figure out, because they're great martial artists and martial arts can do this, they can figure out how to make that broom an extension of themselves to make it their own thing. Like, they can turn that broom into a weapon. It's like, if you give me a broom, I can't turn that broom into a weapon. But them as martial artists can turn anything into. So when he got airbending, he's able to turn that into an extension of his own self. And that's the way bending is. That's the way true bending is that you make it an extension of yourself.
You don't feel like that's like comparing it to a broom's a little bit belittling to the complexities of, like, we're coming from a conversation we've had about how like airbenders controlling the temperature, like their internal temperature. Can you imagine? So like the amount of like the degrees range that we can survive as humans is like, I don't know, like 10, 15 degrees or something for any length of time. So like when they're doing that, like there's got to be some complexity and precision to all those kinds of control. You're telling me this guy just has that because he's a good martial artist? Like,
I'm not saying he's great at absolutely everything,
but he literally is great at everything right out of the gate.
I don't know if he's wearing a lot of bundles. Maybe he doesn't know how to do the whole regulate your body temperature with your airbending.
It's fair to say that he there's no suggestion that he does that. I'm like trying to wrap up the complexities of something like this and compare it to things you already know. I'm sticking with the basketball analogy. That's like you can be really gifted athlete and you could have the perfect form down already, but then when I hand you a basketball, like you're not making that first shot.
I don't know though, because there are certain athletes that I think would excel in any sport.
Zaheer has really never seen airbenders. It's not like he watched NBA on TV and then picked up a basketball either. He's not seen them. He's heard stories of past ones who did not have the same advanced techniques. We've already established that techniques do evolve and change over time. He's got nothing to work with from a frame of reference of modern airbending. Not anything within the past 100 years. I'm not buying it.
I feel like once you get
it's too
an ability.
He could have been just as good of a villain if he progressing as an airbender. I don't know. He could have been.
I mean, the thing is, I think you see him progressing. I mean,
you do. He literally learns to fly, which more complaints, but we'll get to a different conversation.
I'm completely fine with that one.
No, I'm totally fine with that one. I'm not sure. Again, it's more of like a tweak that I would make to make it feel better to me.
To me, that's not one of those things that you kind of grow into, or like you.
No, that's that's a mastery. That's a mastery thing. I don't have any issue. It's just a tweak of how like his approach to it would make it feel better to me, I think. But we can talk about that when the time comes.
Yeah. But I'm cool with Bryan's explanation.
All this is fine too. I'm not against. He's a great villain. Book 3 is probably my favorite book, at least of Korra personally, and he's a great villain. I just am not as enamored with him as my Korra liking friends. That's all. It's a little too things fall to him a little too convenient.
I mean, he got a lot of time to read in prison. So he's already read up on Airbender.
Bring him books in prison?
I don't think they're that. Imagine
they didn't bring him books in prison.
I don't think the White Lotus and the Aang or whoever would be like so cruel they wouldn't give someone something to read. Something that's, I think prisoners get to read. Like even nowadays, like people on death row.
Wasn't Aang's choice? Aang was not around.
No,
this is White Lotus. The White Lotus, who we know is not perfect.
I just think you give him something. You give him something to do.
Yeah, like a crossword, not airbending techniques.
They didn't give him like They didn't give him a airbender scroll of techniques to do.
To be so good at so many things and have so many things line up just right, there's just too much that's convenient that makes him feel less like a real villain to me. That's all.
And that's why he saw this as righteous. Saw his path.
It does. It feeds his. It funnels. But I think he still could have had a lot of those things, but with, I guess, with like a more natural curve to it.
And I think if it wasn't for the fact that he wasn't already a martial artist and making that extension himself, I mean, we see that in book 2, Legend of Korra, when people are given firebending, like they throw fire. They know how to do that. Yeah, so they don't make an extension.
Kai here, he's got the basics. He's getting it out of his system in a literal way.
Yeah, but Kai wasn't like a martial artist beforehand who could topple the the world governments. And so yeah, so being and when you see him fight, like he's clearly not using airbender martial arts. Like he's not he doesn't like using bagua. He's not using circular motions and trapping people in there.
That part I really like. I really appreciate that. But even the fact of just being like at the pinnacle of martial artistry and like well versed philosophy, despite having lost 15 years of his life, like there's just too many things that go like a little too right. I'm gonna call it a plot convenience.
He also, I think, he's able to go into the spirit world at any time.
If you can confirm that, I will be more convinced. If you can confirm that he has been doing that,
he's able to.
He's able to later.
Iway can do it. To me, that's not an ability you just like picked up. Like Iway can do it. So this is clearly, to me, a communication methodology that they were using beforehand. So to me, even though he was in prison, like he wasn't in the prison of his mind, he's able to go to the spirit world anytime, which probably kept him somewhat sane during that 15 years.
If you can confirm that he was able to go to that and make me feel good that they had that ability prior, as we work through, I'm more comfortable with that, because if mental escape is the most impactful part, like that's the part where prison is such a breakdown. If you can escape mentally, that is obviously a huge boost in every way. That would ease a lot of my concerns.
I am 99.5% confident he's always had that. Not always, but he's had that ability well beforehand. Yeah. What was the? I mean, they don't mention really their lives before, and not all of them can. Well, the other three can't meditate into the spirit world. I mean, only a select people can actually do it. And bending wasn't something that made him able to do it, because non-benders.
No, and it's just another thing that, like, hey, this all-powerful, perfect guy that's not, like, it's just another thing that plays into his favor that's too convenient for my taste. It's too much. He's like, it comes out too OP. He's not just a Fire Lord with a bad political dream. He's an OP character.
I don't think he's OP, because I think we see him
OP.
No, he fights Kaya, and he doesn't defeat her. I mean, it's a pretty. And even she's like, we fall to a draw. And when he fights Tenzin owns him. Later on,
not literally OP as a character, like all of his combination of gifts and things that have just, again, they just too conveniently line up to make him such a formidable foe. And all I'm saying is they all could have been tailored a little differently to make it feel a little more organic. That's all.
I wouldn't change anything.
I totally would. But this is all I'll say. It when you when you lay it all out there, it makes it sound like bashing. Like, we're still talking about my favorite book in the series here, in the Korra series at least, and a villain who I like. I'm mad excited to talk about this, because I like all four of them. I love the Red Lotus as the big bads.
Would you like just a scene of him training in airbending?
No.
Like after when he's with the Red Lotus?
No, I just
like I need to. He's like, I need to master.
Maybe I need to practice. He gets harmonic convergence. Maybe get like a Rocky '80s montage of him like learning like little airbending mastery tricks, like he doing the air scooter around the cell and just whapping into a wall.
So at some point in the book 3, you want him to do a flashback of.
I do.
Maybe just a flashback of his whole story, right? So he kidnaps Korra. And then he gets trapped, and he's like, "How did you imagine him just staying in prison?" And then he goes, and he finds some type of
he like rubs a scar on his head, and then he has to relive the story of running air scootering into a prison wall.
The scar right on his.
I got a concussion for a couple days. It was a bad time.
So here, I remember you having the scar before we left prison.
Oof,
like, it's a battle scar. I took out 3 guards, and that's like a Family Guy cutaway.
It's just him just crashing into the wall. And then the guards being like, "What's going on in there?" And I don't know. He thought of something.
Yeah.
I just want it to feel a little more natural. That's all. And I want him in sort of voice acting to feel a little more natural too. Like if he's at 100% of what he's doing right now, it's like I want to be at like 95. A little more.
So I don't really ever hear that much complaints about the voice acting for Zaheer.
I feel bad because I'm bashing a voice actor who is clearly a very talented person, but it's just like it's just not. The other big bads throughout this series and in this season all still feel like humans, and he feels like a very philosophical robot.
That's Henry Rollins. Like if you ever heard him speak,
not outside of the realm of Zaheer.
Yeah. No. I'm not saying he's like Zaheer, but I get why they cast Henry Rollins.
It feels like everything he's saying is from a speech, and it just feels out of place. But again, we're talking like I just want it all dialed back, just like a hair. That's all. Minor complaints.
I love those speeches. I
love the dialogue that comes out of his mouth. I love the words that come out. It all feels good. All right, well, thanks for listening to my TED Talk, my Zaheer Talk. Can you imagine if that was one of their real names? It was just Ted. They have all these great names, and then they go rescue Ted Fifth. It'd be like Deadpool 2, where it's just like a random person with no abilities whatsoever. He's like, I'm the Red Lotus accountant, you know?
Then he died. I've not rewatched Deadpool 2. Do I have 2 copies of Deadpool 2 for some reason that I accidentally bought?
If you get one, if you have 2, sell me one of them. I've got Deadpool 1 on DVD, but not 2. I'm not saying I like it better than the first one, but I love that sequence of the other sequence. The sequence, the other heroes, and with Domino, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite sequences in movies.
Nope, just one Deadpool 2.
10 out of 10 would recommend. No, I don't like it better than the first one, but
I have two of Incredibles 2 for some reason.
I love everything. You know what? I didn't like Incredibles 2 that much, but maybe
I don't think I
might be too much.
I gave it I didn't love it.
Might be too much conversation to start at this time of the evening.
Don't check out my review of it. It's probably a bad review.
Is it a pretty early one?
It's probably like my 7th review.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a pretty average movie, so whatever.
It's like we waited like 10 years for this movie.
For something that was just like
a 15.
For something that was just like a reciprocal plot of the first one, like, I'm not into it.
They should have aged him up, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
And probably did more commentary on today's life, I think, with like technology.
Well, it would have just separated and created a more interesting story, probably. But
yeah.
Well, long story short, Deadpool 2, any sequence with Domino, loved them all. They're all great. Hey, that's our thoughts on Rebirth and our early thoughts on Zaheer. We'll have another good conversation with, like, he has so many major impactful moments. We'll definitely revisit when he flies. Spoiler alert. And then at the end, I'm sure. So we're not done yet.
I think my favorite moments with the Queen.
Oh yeah, that one's pretty sick. So you can remove all those other things I say about him in that moment because that's fantastic, and it's so gratifying. You're like, you know what? Maybe this guy's not so bad. You know. Maybe he's got a point. Let's listen to him. The perfect. I can't wait till we rewrite this book, and we rewrite it so that in my
I don't
book,
know how.
When I rewrite it, him and Korra are just gonna wait until Korra gets really old, and then like lives a long life, and she's like, you know what, you got a good point. I'm gonna go to the Avatar state now, and you do me in now that I've lived a good life. We've reset the world on a good path, and now you can do your whole chaos thing. Yeah, that's how I'll rewrite it. Done. I've already done it. I don't have to do anything else. I'm tired. Let's quit.
All right.
Just rambling.
I forget that today's Thursday.
Yeah.
And not Friday. I'm like, I'll just go to sleep after this and wake up at whatever time I want, and now it's work tomorrow.
Yeah. And I've got to drive a lot tomorrow. Like I'm working a half day and then driving the other half of the day, and that's bad to do tired. Don't drive tired, people.
Yeah, don't drive tired.
Hey, well, on that note, we're both tired and old and have like jobs and stuff, so we're getting out of here. My name's Sean. That's Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. Lots of contact information down in the description. Reach out to us. We appreciate all your support all the time. Thank you so much for being here. This has been Avatar: The Last Podcasters. We'll see you next time.